All right, so in this episode, we're speaking with Christopher, who's had his fair share of struggles, but he ultimately was able to overcome these with his grit and determination, was able to lock up a deal that's cash flowing him $1,700 a month conservatively. There's a lot of great stuff in this episode. We talk about how he overcame roadblocks and used those as stepping stones to get to his win. We also talk about how important it is to have a supportive partner in entrepreneurship and how anyone, no matter where your background or upbringing is, can be successful. You're gonna love Christopher's story, and I'm sure it's gonna resonate with a lot of people. All right, we got Christopher Bamford here on the call. Thanks for hopping on. He's been absolutely crushing it. I know you're probably tired setting up a property last night, but for the folks that don't know who you are, let's kind of talk about maybe some of your background before this whole Airbnb journey, and then we can go from there.
Yeah, man. So like I said, my name's Christopher Bamford. I'm 29. I live in Louisiana, and I just set up my first property. We're hoping to go live within the next few days. So kind of how I got onto the Airbnb arbitrage. I've always kind of been in the entrepreneur spirit, and I started with like $70 going to garage sales and stuff like that, and started an eBay business. And then I ended up getting into the oil and gas industry, and kind of put it on the back burner a little bit with my eBay business. Started looking up real estate, and I could really never find like my way in. And with the capital that you have to have and everything, and just not knowing and not necessarily guidance on it. So here we found Preston here, and started to run with it.
Love it, man. And so let's start talking about your Airbnb journey, because I know you had a lot of failed deals. Like there's a lot of ups and downs, but you just kept trucking along, and eventually you came out here where you just set up your first property. So I think a lot of people can learn from that. So maybe start talking about the start of your Airbnb journey, maybe with some of the failures that you experienced and how you overcame those.
Yeah, man. So I seen your videos for months and everything like that, and I was starting to talk to my fiance like, hey, I think this is our end. I think we can definitely financially support this. And so me and her started watching your videos just on YouTube, and it got to the point like, hey, let's get into it. Let's get the course and everything. So and that was a big step. So, and it was a little scary when you're going into the unknown. So after that step, there was a lot more scary steps on the way that I just wasn't thinking of. But so basically, we went through the whole course. I had to watch videos over and over and over again just to make sure that it set in, and just to retain everything, write it down and go step by step. So I mean, there was a lot of times that I was just going through market research, and I'm not fully understanding. Go back and watch the videos. Like, is it going to get, are you going to be able to understand? Are you going to get it? And then it got to a point you're like, all right, now I've kind of got the market research down. It's time to start calling landlords. And boy, that is a task, and it's really, and it happens with me, every time I start something new like that, until you find like your own words of how to give them the pitch and make it your own, and see what's working, see what's not working. I probably called, I want to say, at least 50 landlords, if not around 70. I'd have to go back and look, but you kind of get all walks of life with it. You get people that will come in, hang up on you. You get people that are interested, but they really don't understand it. So, hey, I mean, I appreciate you calling, but we don't want to do it. And then you get the people that, hey, I mean, I'd like to see, where this can go. And then, you run the numbers. You do have a few, failed deals and everything. Like, the numbers are just not there. You think this is the perfect property. Like, I got one, and you start getting excited. And then the numbers just don't work, and you gotta take your feelings out of it, because that's what it comes down. It comes down to the numbers, and this is a business, and we, fully understand like, hey, we got to go in this as a business with a business mind, and understand if the numbers don't work, no matter how beautiful the house is, if the rent's too high or they're wanting this or that, So we kind of went through some hurdles with a few deals. One, this couple really wanted to go with us, but the return was just not there. The risk was way too high. And then I had a couple that were, one guy who owned a few Airbnbs that were, fully furnished. And I was going to give him his asking price, for the rent. And he wanted to, charge a premium, and that just threw all the numbers off. And I couldn't get him to come down or whatnot. I tried to reach out to him a few times, and, he just explained like, hey, look, we want a premium. And so it just didn't work. We had to part ways. I still have his number. I might contact him in the future, maybe for future deals, stuff like that. And then, I finally was able to, talk with this guy here that, that I'm working with, and, everything seemed to work out. He's really easygoing. And I think that's a good thing to go into. Like, if they're real, definitely for your first one, if they seem easy to work with, it's a give and take relationship, and it flowed real nice. And that's when we decided, hey, we're going to make that jump. And it was a scary jump to, sign the lease, give the deposit, start ordering, at that point, it's like, all right, we're going to do this. We're already this far, we have the team to back us up, the verification. All right, let's get into it. So those were some of the struggles with like, getting in touch with the landlords, the defeat that you feel sometimes of like, you've been calling all day, for 2 weeks. And it's really a numbers game. Eventually, you are going to get somebody that you can work with that is going to say yes. So it's kind of just getting over that hump, and then, kind of making the script to yours, your pitch and everything, conform it to you and whatnot, make it your own.
No, a lot of good stuff in there. A couple of points I really want to hone in on. First is the volume thing that you mentioned about the calls. Because there's people that I'll talk to, hey, I've been calling and no one's saying yes. I'm like, okay, how many landlords have you talked to? Like maybe 5. And it's like, okay, well, there's your answer, right? You haven't called enough people. You haven't talked to enough. And the thing that I love about, calls or whatever, even emails, text, the more that you do it, the better you're going to get at it, right?
Oh,
and so I'm sure, from like your very first call to your 70th call, I'm sure there was a huge noticeable difference in your confidence, your tonality, your pitch, and all that. So maybe talk about, number one, like how you kind of progressed and overcame those fears as you started making more calls.
Yeah, so I remember I was at work, and my first call was to this lady in Louisiana. I was looking around trying to get it in my area, and I went straight off the script. I sounded almost like a robot, to be honest with you. And it didn't go horribly wrong, but it wasn't great, and she was, very nice and respectful. And so, and I just slowly, kind of progressed to the point to where I was like, all right, I'm not getting any yeses. I'm not even getting, some maybes for like the first, I would say like 10 calls. So I called my father, and I started practicing with him. I was like, hey, look, you're going to be a landlord. I'm going to come in, and I probably sat on the phone with him for probably about an hour and a half and just went over the script, just really repetition is what it is, because it starts to become, memory. You just start to be able to spit it out. So from my first call to, within the middle to the end, I started realizing like what people like to hear. I didn't really go straight into, like, at first I was going straight into, hey, this is what I want to do. And I was kind of starting to build rapport with these people, hey, more like, hey, the house is, incredible. It looks incredible. The yard is great. Beautiful home, by the way. Just kind of building a little bit of rapport, talking about it. Oh, yeah, and they'll come in. Yeah, we bought it, 8 years ago. We did a few renovations. I'm like, hey, man, incredible work. It looks good and everything. And then I would kind of go into my pitch a little bit. And just, and I never started out with just like, hey, this is what I'm going to do with, like just paying you rent and stuff like that. I kind of would give them some of the securities, like, hey, look, this is what we offer. We take care of your property, better than a traditional tenant. We do maintenance on it. All these different things that you teach in the course. So that started working out for me. And then once I started seeing that they were receptive to it, that's what I ran with. And I had a few deals that they wanted to do it, and it just, the numbers didn't work out. So I started getting, kind of good at it. So I feel like I'm all right. I'm ready to get this one going. I'm ready to get on my next one. We are very eager to get on our next one. We definitely want to hone in on this one and lock this one down and make sure we know exactly what we're doing, getting everything going each step, and then start on the next one.
Yeah, no, really, love that. Just because, you kind of figured out after a few calls, all right, I'm not super comfortable yet. And so you said, hey, Dad, let's talk on the phone. And that's something that a lot of people aren't willing to do, is put in those reps, put in the practice, because like anything else, sales, marketing, whatever, any skill that you have can all be learned and be practiced and be good at. We're not, obviously some of us are just naturally born good at certain things, but a lot of these skills are things that you can learn. So I love that story of being able to, go practice. And then now I'm sure like that's the best position to be in, is you turn people down because you have too many people interested or the numbers don't work out.
Definitely so. Definitely so. I have a saying because, I like I said, I have to, me personally, I've got to watch the videos over and over and over, like make sure I understand. Sometimes you get frustrated, like, all right, the market researchers, which I find is one of the things that's like, all right, am I going to get this right? This is like the big part of it right here. Hard work beats out talent most of the time. A lot of us people, we're not necessarily skilled in talking to people, and repetition and doing it over and over and over is you're gonna develop the skill. And I think if you work hard enough, and just keep at it and don't let it, the defeats, you take them as lessons. You never fail, you only learn. And so that's kind of how we've been looking at it, and here we are.
Yeah, and obviously your grit has paid off, so that's awesome, man. Another important thing that you talked about is removing your emotions from the property, because like you said, on paper, you're like, oh, like this property looks beautiful. It's, beautifully updated. Then once you run the numbers and it doesn't make sense, you have to detach yourself from that outcome, because sure, in your mind, you're like, how could this property not do well? And that's something that I fell into the trap of when I first started was, no, there's no way. I must be running the numbers wrong. So you try to fudge the numbers a little bit. That's where you get into, dangerous territory, because in your mind, okay, this could work, but the data behind it says no. And so that's the thing I love about business. It's kind of like a love-hate relationship, because as long as you get the numbers right, then, you can detach your emotions from it. So that's another super important lesson there.
Definitely so. Yeah, you get excited. Me and my fiance, we got excited about a couple properties, and you'll get excited about properties, and then you'll call them and they're not interested at all. Then you'll call some properties and like, hey, they're interested, and you're like, hey, this is a beautiful property, but it might be a little too far out, or whatever variable it is. It's just like, hey, numbers don't work. Just got to let it go on to the next, forget about it.
Yeah, no, for sure. So let's talk about the first property that you were able to lock down. Maybe talk about, how did you find that? How did the conversation go? Maybe from start to finish, how that whole process went.
Yeah. So I was looking in that area, and I called all the homes out there, all the places for rent. And so I did the save search, so it would notify me every single day, or, a couple times a week whenever a new property would come up. So I got that property. I tried to call them. I left a voicemail, no answer. They sent me a message and said, hey, this is, a realty company. So I was like, so this is going to be, a realty company. I'm not going to be able to talk to the landlord. So, but I was like, hey, I'm going to, try and put some feelers out there. I said, I'd love to talk to you on the phone, about this property. So I ended up talking to him, it was the weekend. Ended up talking to him that Monday. Turned out he was a landlord. So I started, I was kind of giving him my pitch, talking to him and everything like that. And he asked me a question, and he was like, so how many of these do you have under your belt? And honesty to me is the best key. I want to be honest. I want to develop genuine relationships, and possibly invest with this guy later on. This guy's got 26 properties plus an Airbnb. I don't know where it's at. So I was like, hey, this is my first property. In different words, look, I've invested into my education. I've taken the time. I've done the research, all the way to the point. I've taken every necessary step to the point where I'm talking to you on the phone now. And he talked with his wife about it. They liked the pitch. He called me back and he said, hey, let's run your numbers and everything like that. And I told him I was part of a big group with coaches and mentors. I was like, hey, I mentioned your name. I was like, this is the guy. You can look him up. And and I don't know if he did or not, but talked to the coaches. Submitted numbers and stuff like that. Everything seemed to work out. And then he started working with me and everything on the numbers. He was like, hey, we can reduce this a little bit. And, because he was, he kind of told me a story to where we kind of connected. I was like, hey, this is my first investment property. And he was like, a guy took a chance on me 7 years ago, and now I have 26 properties. And he was like, if the numbers work and, everything's legit on your end, I would love to get you into investing. So, worked out to the point where signed the lease. He didn't want to do a long-term lease. He's usually only doing a 2-year lease. And I said, hey, because I asked for a 4-year, and he was like, I really don't want to do a 4-year lease. I'd rather do a 1-year lease. Well, obviously, numbers don't work like that with, just a 1-year lease. So I was able to get him for 3 years with a possible re-sign at the end. We'll see how everything goes. So we signed, got everything out there. I tried to get it a month later, I tried to start in April, and he was like, "Nah, I'd rather start in March." So we went in a month early. We actually was able to go a little bit in February, start ordering everything. We got out there. My fiance was there, I think, a couple weeks before me, and then I was able to get off work, go out there. I mean, and it's an experience to get out there, put an entire house together, literally, and and the documents that you have with the list of each room, incredible help, and my fiance made a little bit of it like her own and stuff like that. Hey, let's get this, let's get that. So we set the entire house up, piece by piece, coming in, and it starts to become a home. You're here, sitting here. You're in this, big house, beautiful home, putting it all together. You're starting to see that vision, that light at the end of the tunnel right there. You're like, hey, this is starting to come together. And then at the end of it, you have it all together. You have all the decor, and you just look around, and it's an accomplishment. You feel good. You're ready to, you're looking at the competition. That's a big thing, is looking at the other Airbnbs. I wouldn't necessarily say duplicate it to a T, but see what's working for them. Kind of go off of that, take bits of it, put it in yours, and just be comparable with them to an extent. And that's what we did, and we made it our own, we went with the boho thing, and it everything worked out good. We got the pool guy that's there. That's another big thing. I think only 6% of properties have pools. I think only 6% of properties have hot tubs. So once we get some profit back in, we're going to put a hot tub there immediately, and just kind of stand out from the competition. And we ended up deep cleaning, and I'm telling you, deep cleaning the house. Me and my fiance went through that entire house. You're talking scrubbing doors, baseboards, the cabinets, inside the the cabinets, the bathrooms, everything. I mean, it's a job. It's definitely a job, but it's incredibly rewarding afterwards. Knowing that, hey, you have put this together. And I seen in the group, somebody asked one time about, hey, should we go to these restaurants, see if we can get possibly gift cards? And I was like, it hit me one day, and I was like, you know what? I'm going to try it. So I took my laptop. We had the welcome packet. We had like 6 local restaurants in our packet. And I was like, hey, let me go to these places. And I was amazed that they were really open to it, to where I was able to get multiple, just small things. I was like, we're not asking nothing, crazy. We're just maybe a $5 gift card that will, entice them to go there, come see y'all out. And I was like, the main thing is I want to give my guests a great experience. I want to, improve Tyler. I want to, be a part of the community and everything like that. I want to, all of us come together, work together. And when I explained it like that, they were more than happy. And we actually have more from like a couple ice cream shops that we're going to go to, that we actually have our cleaners go and pick up today, that they're getting, $5 coupons for, Andy's ice cream. And, we're going to put that out for guests and stuff like that. And, it's been good so far. So that's kind of the start to finish with the house, putting everything together, going to go get the gift cards and stuff like that. And now we're back home, ready for the photographer to get done. We're going to get everything set up. We got the cleaners, we got the handyman, everything in order, all the lawn care, and pool guy. So here we are.
Yeah, man. I mean, hopefully, rewatch that if you're watching this, just because there's so many like golden nuggets that you just shared right there. The first thing that, you mentioned was working with the landlords, right? Because, I mean, I know landlords get a bad rap, right? And rightfully so for some of them. But a lot of these landlords are really successful, right? They have multiple properties. If you put your best foot forward, they could be, partners in the future, whether that's from like a money standpoint or from a different properties that they have, they can arbitrage or whatever. Yeah. Like there's so many different ways. And, something that you did well was you built that rapport with them, and he almost like took you on as a mentee, because I'm sure he saw a lot of himself in you, trying to, grind and hustle. And so I love that story. I honestly got the chills like as you were sharing it. And then the other thing that you really did well was, you thought outside of the box, right? How can you put yourself in the guest? What would they like if they, were to stay in your property, right? So, networking with other restaurants in your area, having that coupon that they can go and, because it's a win-win for their business, and also it's a win-win for you and also the guests, right? Like everyone wins 100%. In that scenario. And that all just comes from thinking outside the box, following a proven plan and then just executing on it. So I love that story.
Awesome. Thank you.
Yeah, dude. So you already answered how you differentiate from your competition. I think you're thinking ahead already. You're like, how can I reinvest into this property so that I can continue standing out? Because people talk about the Airbnb bust or whatever, and the thing is, if you have a property that stands out from the competition, even in a worst case scenario where let's say travel slashes in half, right? If you're in the top 10 to 20% of properties, you're still going to get booked, right? You might even get booked even more because the people that are struggling are going to take their listings offline because they're not making any money from it. And so I love the way that you're thinking about this business. It's how can I, reinvest back into the guest experience and also your property to make it the best possible property in your area. So you're thinking about this the right way, like a business, first and foremost.
So to kind of touch on what you said, with like the Airbnb bust and everything, when I was looking into getting into this, I was watching YouTube videos from other people, seeing them, do I want to do this? And there's a 1,000 reasons that you can tell yourself to not do it. Oh, hey, this is this. Oh, every year for the rest of your life, there's going to be something out there that's going to tell you, hey, don't do that. Don't do that. You can go look. Hey, people are telling you not to get into long-term rentals. People are telling you not to get into short-term rentals. People are telling you not to invest in this. Don't do the stock market. So you kind of push those away. If you got a proven plan and you see that it's working for people and you can implement those steps, I say go for it. Push those negative thoughts out, and any negative people that say like, hey, I don't know, that's scary. Yeah, it's scary, but it's also scary to work a 9 to 5 for the rest of your life as well.
Yeah, 100%. I think too many people think about all the what ifs, right? But what if, like from a negative standpoint, but they don't think about it from what if this actually goes well? What if I actually become financially free and this is like my stepping stone? And so it's all about your mindset, and that's why I like to talk a lot about that, because too many people, we all grew up in the same education system for the most part. We never were taught how to, open a credit card or about investing, about savings and all this stuff. And so once you rewire your mind and think, okay, this is possible, as long as I follow a proven plan, as long as I, seek out the right people, it's more than possible, even for the average Joe. And I don't come from, rich parents. Like, in fact, it's the opposite. And I'm sure you're probably the same way. And if as long as you have that right mindset and you work and stick to something, it's going to pay off. Like it's inevitable.
Oh, 100%. And yeah, and I definitely have some of the same background. I definitely did not come from rich parents. Everything that that we've invested in this is what me and my fiance have brought in and saved up, and it took us a while to save up. And so definitely people thinking like, I don't have rich parents that that'll invest this kind of money. It doesn't matter. If you apply yourself, it might take you a little bit longer to save up the money, but once you do, you'll get in there, and that's your first step. So that's kind of how we saw it. And just, hey, one, you gotta change spending habits, that's for sure. We're actually our mind is actually different between me and my fiance. Like we're starting to think different. Like I do have a few toys, I have a few four-wheelers, and I actually just sold both of them to get costs down so we can scale even faster. We're implementing different things. We've always been pretty good at budgeting and like, hey, this is what we spend each week. This is what we do this. So now we're kind of taking it up a level. Like, hey, look, now we're starting to see that light. Like it's possible. People are doing this every single day, and they're just average Joes like us. Like let's go for it. Let's start changing things in our life, and making sacrifices to get to that point. And that's what we're definitely doing.
Yeah, and a lot of people aren't willing to do those sacrifices that you mentioned, like selling off your toys that could help you reach your financial goals faster. They're trying to double dip and try to get best of both worlds. And eventually you can get to that point where you can, but when you're first starting off, you have to sacrifice certain things, whether that's your time or your money, with different aspects to get to the point where you want to be. So delaying that gratification until the end, that's a recipe where basically, like, all the things that you've said so far, it doesn't surprise me why you're successful and why you've gotten to the point where you are locking down a property, is because you're thinking about it in the right ways. And so so there's a lot of different lessons that even people that are watching this can take from. So as you start to scale, right, like what are your goals? Are you trying to get to 10, 20, like, are you turning it into an empire? Or maybe if you can talk about like what your goals are for the rest of this year with your portfolio.
So I'm actually getting married in October, and we're actually flying out to Jamaica. So we plan on doubling down on this. So, I'm very hard on making sure we know exactly what we're doing before we get into the next one. So we're going to make sure we know every single aspect, because I know we're going to run into problems and obstacles once we go live with guests and stuff like that. So we're going to make sure we lock that down. We know what's going on, and we're going to take some of that profit and we're going to reinvest immediate. As soon as we have enough to go back into the next property, that's exactly what we're going to do. So I definitely want to, in a sense, have an empire. I definitely want to scale as fast as possible, but we're going to do it in a safe manner. We're definitely going to take risk. You definitely got to risk it. I have a big saying: you got to risk it for the biscuit. And so, we're definitely going to scale. I'm hoping by next year, if not have another property by the end of this year, start having at least have another 2 properties by next year. And I'm trying to not put limitations on myself, but I'm also trying to be realistic. So I still don't know like how fast I can scale until profit starts coming in, how we're running the business. So however how fast that lets me go, that's how fast we're going to go. We're going to take it day by day, see what's going on, and we're going to keep doing Airbnb arbitrage. And then once we start getting enough revenue coming in, we're going to start buying properties in these areas, because we want the benefits of real estate. So that is the main goal. That is the main goal, is to own real estate to where we will Airbnb those properties or long-term rental, whatever we decide. So we're going to continue arbitrage 100%. I don't see it not happening in our future. We'll continue to do that. We'll buy other properties, Airbnb those out, look at long-term rentals and stuff. We're actually in talks right now. Nothing's final, but there's 11 acres out in Texas that we're looking at that we might be able to sell or finance. And that's the crazy thing. Once you start getting into this, and you start seeing that people are doing these deals, there's ways to do them. That we're looking at seller finance to where we can build the property. It's got a structure on there with a slab, so where we can build the property, build equity, possibly do a refinance. Obviously, we're going to get a contract, look at all the numbers, and it's just like, well, I can build this equity, refinance, pay them off, have enough money, open up another Airbnb to pay that mortgage. And your mind starts, going out there when you see that people out here doing this. This is, for sure possible. So we're definitely, looking into that. We're definitely going to focus on our Airbnb arbitrage business. That right now is the utmost importance, and we're going to definitely scale. I don't want to put a number of, hey, I only want to have 10 properties. As much as I can get, I'll definitely do. And we'll start, hiring VAs and stuff like that, so we're not just getting into a job. We're getting our time back. We do have a 3-year-old little girl, and she's growing up quick.
Yeah, man. Well, first of all, congratulations on getting married here soon.
Thank you.
And a lot of great things in there, right? Because number one, you start to think differently once you, and it's cliche, right? But everything does start with your mindset. It really does. Because if it didn't start with your mindset, then there would be way more millionaires. There would be way more wealthy people. But because they can't, a lot of these people, either weren't taught, they're, have these limiting beliefs. But like, there's a saying where a lot of people say, "Oh, I can't afford that," but the successful people say, "How can I afford that?" And it's such a small little difference, but it makes the world a difference, right? And so, like you said, 100%. Before it's like, okay, this huge acre of land, I can't afford that, so you just you brush it off. But now you're getting into creative ideas like seller financing, and how can I actually come to? And then you also say, all right, this property here can help pay for this liability, or this piece of property, or my dream house. And so once you start 100%. Thinking of things like that, then your whole world starts to change. So I love that you've starting to think of things differently than you were before.
Definitely. So it definitely just opens your mind up to what people are doing, and a lot of times, like, I start to think, because you also think in your head, like, man, they would never do that. They would never do that. You're looking at these people that that have investment properties and stuff, and you're like, they would never do that. A big thing is, don't put yourself in their shoes. You don't know what they're willing to do. What they're they might sell or finance on terms for 3 years for you to put a structure on there and then refinance. So closed mouths don't get fed. So ask around, put some feelers out there, and it's definitely mind blowing to what you can do, and like starting to see other people do it, and you're like, all right, this is definitely a way to go, and everything can be worked out.
Yeah, man. Love it. So on this property that you got locked up, what are you looking at cash flow wise from this property?
So conservatively, 1,700 a month, 1,700, and roughly, I'm thinking we're going to do a little bit better than that, just because of the low percent for pools, and we have definitely done everything that we could possibly do to make the house look great. And I can't wait to get the pictures and be able to post them and everything. We went with good outside furniture. We got a fire pit, we got a grill, we have the games out there. I even took the time to cut 2x4s into 10.5-inch lengths. So we got giant Jenga out there that we're going to put out there. We got a game room for the kids, and I have a daughter. We was out there. They had some people come over, some of the neighbors. So, and that's another good thing is getting to know your neighbors. Like, we did a big grill out and everything like that. So, a couple of the neighbors came by, and they're gonna watch on the property a little bit. Just incredible people. And then it was like, hey, my family comes in once or twice a year. Instead of them staying at our house, we'll have them come stay here. Awesome, perfect. And so we've done everything that we could possibly do to get the most revenue. And also give a good deal, give a good deal, like they're getting a quality product. And, so I think 1,700, that is incredible. I'm excited for it, but I'm hoping that we do a little better, but I want to stay conservative.
Yeah, no, for sure. And that's something that I preach too, because you can put pie in the sky numbers, but I would always want to be happy with more cash flow than less cash flow, right? And so that's why, we definitely want to underwrite these properties like that. But I mean, yeah, another thing, keep being good to your neighbors, like that's textbook. You going out and developing that relationship for them, because they're gonna look after your property. I'm assuming you're not near there where you can. I'm sure you could probably hop on and complain.
6 hours away.
Yeah, exactly. So they can look out for it. Obviously, you have your cleaners, your boots on the ground team that do it, but it never it never hurts to have more pairs of eyes on your property, especially now that you've invested and you've done all this stuff to it. So to kind of wrap this up, let's talk about if someone's toying with the idea of, either join the program or just starting their Airbnb business, what would you say to that person?
So I actually have I have my brother and I have another buddy, and because I talk about real estate all the time, and I've been preaching on this course, and I've been preaching to them. When I was looking to get into this course, I remember we was watching it. We were sitting in bed, me and my fiance, and I was like, you know what, baby, I'm gonna go on YouTube. I'm gonna learn it myself. I'm gonna learn it myself. And then I started doing that, and I was watching videos from this person. They're over here. Not the way to go, man. Not the way. You're gonna miss steps. It's not the way to go. Getting a detailed plan is 100% what I recommend, and having people there to back you up when you're just stepping into this industry. I would 100% recommend getting a detailed plan and going with a course. You got to invest into your education, invest into yourself. And a guy at work, he was like, so you're going to buy a four-wheeler that's not going to make you no money, but you won't invest a little bit of money into your education that's going to make you money. And I was like, man, right there. So that's when I was like, all right, I was sitting in the lunchroom at my job, and I said, baby, we're doing it. Buying the course. And it has been leaps and bounds. I mean, worth it. I mean, every step is well thought out. It's put out there for you. If you're missing something, go back, watch it again. It's there for you. You have a community of people. You have the coaches, you have the mentors and all that. And, they're talking to you. And I've got to give props to, the coaches and mentors, Dustin and Sam in there as well. They are, incredible. I probably couldn't have done it without them. Definitely so. They have been incredibly helpful. And I would definitely recommend, if you're thinking about getting into it, don't go in blind. Don't try and get on YouTube. There's 1,000 people making 1,000 videos, and don't do it. Go to one guy. I recommend this course. I'm actually trying to get my buddy. I was like, look, come over here. I'll show you a few things. I'll show you my property. I'll show you my numbers and stuff like that. You need to get the course and learn it. Go step by step. And that's what I was telling my brother as well, because he's kind of wanting to dive into it. So anybody that would ask me, buy a course. Whether it's Preston's course, whether it's somebody else's course, I don't know anything about anybody else's course. I just know this course has made me success so far. It is giving me every single step. The guidance is there, the help is there. You're watching other people and their success stories, which gets you motivated. And that's another big thing for me. When you're looking on YouTube, you're not seeing anybody else that's doing it. Like, hey, this guy just got another property. Oh, he just got bookings. He just like, it's that motivation right there. You're like, all right, you know, because you'll be watching videos and you know, you might talk to your friends about it and that's scary. And then you start getting into your own head and wipe all that away, get a detailed course, and you're going to be successful.
For sure. I appreciate the kind words there. And yeah, whether it's mine, like the main thing is just do your due diligence, right? Make sure that the person that you're listening to, because there's a lot of, you know, unfortunately some, you know, gurus and scammers out there that, you know, don't really know what they're talking about, but you just want to make sure that you vet them, make sure that they know what they're doing, make sure that they're getting results for, you know, the people that are joining. And that's my biggest thing, whether that's mine or, you know, whoever else is out there, you know, make sure you do your due diligence for sure. So, and then another thing that I wanted to just touch on is, you know, having really good people next to you. So like for you, it sounds like your fiance is someone that really is kind of your kind of like right man person, right? Or right woman person, where they're helping you. If you're struggling, I'm sure, you know, they're helping you lift you up, push you in the right direction. So that's another underrated thing. And obviously not all of us have the luxury of having a really good spouse. So maybe kind of like, as before we wrap this up, talk about the importance of having someone, you know, a really good partner.
Definitely so. And I'll touch real quick on the, you know, vetting people. I did go through 2 other people and, you know, we did phone calls with them and we watched your live video. Honestly, I mean, you beat them all out. One was you can buy the course, but it expires at a certain period of time. Another one, it's just, you definitely got to vet. And we did vet. We went through 3 people and you were one of the 3, and that's who we decided to go with. And very happy we did. So when it comes to supportive people, if you don't have a spouse and, you know, or maybe they don't want to, you know, dive into it, you know, for whatever reason. And that's why I also will recommend the course as well, because you're going to have these people that's going through the same experience as you. I was lucky enough that my fiance has been there with me. She has encouraged me. She has, you know, when I come home and I'm like, I got all no's today. You know, everybody, you know, people are hanging up on me and stuff like that. So I think you can get that same level on the group. You know, you get that group. You start putting your worries out there, like, hey, you know, it's getting a little hard, and they have them on there. I seen them the other day. You're like, hey, maybe try this, maybe try to say this. You know, so you're getting that support. You know, I think if you, like I said, if you don't have a spouse, this group here, you're going to get that same support to an extent. You know, I mean, it won't be your living wife or whatever. But you're definitely going to get that support to kind of keep you going, kind of keep your head up, because you are going to have downfalls. It's going to be hard. You know, you start questioning, like, am I doing the right thing? Am I messing up? You know, am I ever going to get it? And yeah, you will. Yeah, you will. I'm not somebody that just retains a bunch of information right off top. I've got to, you know, keep watching, talking to these people, looking at the group. So a support system is, in my opinion, the most important. To have those people, like-minded people. You're seeing what they're going through. They're seeing what you're going through. And you just, you know, pick and choose, you know, and benefit each other. So definitely so. One of the best things I did was get into this group, especially for my fiance. You know, she was going in there. You know, she's still getting worried a little bit about certain things. We're going in here. We're asking questions. We're reading what other people are going through. And it made us both feel good. So we both had the course as a, you know, kind of a supportive, you know, person as well.
Love it, man. Really good insights. Thanks for sharing your thoughts, your experiences. I think a lot of people are going to find a lot of value in this. Thanks for hopping on, man. Have a good weekend, and we'll talk to you soon.
Yes, sir. Take care, man.